Hey, what's up guys? It's Pedro here from NoobCoder.com, and in this tutorial I want to go over the solution to the Tic Tac Toe assignment that I gave in the previous tutorial. So essentially this is my solution, and I'm going to go step by step my thought process and how I came up with my answer. Now if your answer differs from mine, that doesn't mean that you necessarily did it wrong. We are just two different individuals, and we're going to come up with two different answers. So the first thing is I need the scanner object. I need to get the user input, right? Because I asked you guys to prompt the user. I create my board, which is a 3x3 square. It's a 3x3 array. And I have this variable player, and this is going to represent the current player. So right now it's set to X because X goes first in Tic Tac Toe. So we are going to toggle between X and O throughout the game. Now moves left is just so I know if the game is over. So basically, you only have 9 positions, right? You have a 3x3 square. There are 9 places you can move. If after 9 moves, we don't have a winner, that means, hey, it's a tie. So I'm using this as a way to reset the game, and you'll see later how I use that. Now I create an array called player move of size 2. So index 0 is going to hold the row, and index 1 is going to hold the column. Now you could have declared 2 different ints. That is totally up to you. So you could have said int row and int column. So when we get the user's input, you just use int row to get the row, and you use int column to get the column. But to save some space, I just use an array. Next, we have a boolean is valid. Basically, I want to know if the user's input is valid. So this is basically a flag to indicate to me if the user's move is valid. If it is valid, then proceed to execute the rest of the code. So now I have my initialize array, which is going to initialize the board to all zeros. So let's actually take a look at that method real quick. See if I can find it. So initialize array, you can see that I'm just passing in the board and setting everything equal to 0. So that's all initialize array does. So now here's the meat of the code. So while true, so I want this to execute indefinitely until we have a winner, which is why I use the while true. This while statement here is I'm going to prompt the user. Let's get a better view of this. I'm going to prompt the user, hey player. Remember, the variable player is currently set to X. So player X turn, please enter coordinates. And now we just get the user's coordinates. So this is the row, this is the column. And now we call our method that I told you guys to program valid moves. And we're passing in the arguments board, player move, player. Let's take a look at valid move, see what it does. So valid move basically checks, hey, did the user enter a valid move? So here I have 2 conditions. This basically says, hey, is the row equal to 0, greater than or equal to 0, and it has to be less than or equal to 2. So those are my bounds, right? I can only have row 0, row 1, row 2. Those are the only valid rows. The same thing with the columns. Player move 1, that's holding my column. Columns can only be valid if column is 0, 1, or 2. So once this condition executes, I have another set of conditions. I need it to be true. So this is basically saying, so I'm getting the row, I'm putting it in my board array, and my column, and I'm putting in my board array. And I'm saying, hey, if it's equal to 0, remember, that's what we initialized the board's value to, then it's a valid place to put my piece. So then I put in whatever player I'm passing in. So this could be X, this could be O, is going to be assigned that position on the board. Finally, I'm going to return true because that means it is a valid move. Now, if all of these fail, return false. That means it's not a valid move. So let's head up back. So we got up to this line. Is this valid? If it's true, what's going to happen? We are going to exit this while loop, right? Because this while loop only keeps executing if is valid is equal to false. But since it's true, kick us out. Now, if it is valid, if is valid is equal to false, I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to prompt the user, invalid input, please try again. That's just telling the user, hey, whatever you entered is nonsense, please enter the correct values. So moving on, we have our moves left, right? We're going to decrement it. So remember, I set moves left equal to 9. So I decrement it. That means that move was valid. Execute that move. Decrement it. So that means we only have 8 moves left. And then print board just displays the board. Finally, I have a conditional. If we have a winner, break out of the loop. So the has winner. Let's actually take a look at that. So we're passing in the board and player as arguments. So this is my has winner. So basically, these conditions are the positions at which if the player, which is, this could be X, for example, if I have 3 X's in a row, that means I won. That's Tic Tac Toe. If I have 3 O's in a row, that means I won. I have Tic Tac Toe. So these are all the indexes and all possible ways you can win in Tic Tac Toe. So I'm not going to go over all of these, but you could do these yourself and you can see that 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0. And if you actually draw this out on paper, you'll see that that is in fact true. So if any of these conditions are true, that means we have a winner. If none of these conditions are true, that means we do not have a winner. So let's go back up. Okay, so now we're here. So if this returns true, I want you to break out of this while loop. Here, that's the only way we can exit this while loop. If we have a winner, break. And remember, when we use our scanner class, we have to close resources and then exit the loop. Now, if I exit the loop, you'll see that it says we have our winner statement. Winner is player and then so and so. So now, since this is a loop and we want to reset everything. So basically, is valid is now false again because the next player is going to play when the loop resets. And now toggle between players. I told you to implement this method and I'm passing in player and then player gets toggled. So let's take a look at the change player. So I'm passing in player. If the player is equal to X, that means I want you to return O. If it's not equal to X, if this is not true, then return X. So that's our toggle system. And finally, let's say that player X does not win and player O does not win. So if the number of moves left is equal to 0, remember, we're decrementing every time we have a valid move. then I want you to reset the game. So put moves left as assigned 9, reinitialize the board to all zeros. Player is now assigned a value of X, and now we're just prompting the user saying, hey, we're restarting the game. There is no winner. So let's actually take a look at this running, so we'll see exactly how it looks like. Okay, so now you can see that I've executed the program. I'm prompting the user, just like in my code, player X turn. Please enter the coordinates. So player X can say 0, 0. So this is the row, this is the column, hit enter. You see that we do have our display of the board, so X places here. Now player O's turn. Please enter the coordinates, so player O could go to 0, 1. So now you can see player O is inserted here. Player X's turn. Please enter the coordinates. So I'm just going to let, for the sake of argument, I'm going to let player X win. So now you can see that executed again. Player O's turn. O is going to go to 1, 1. You see that O goes here. X is going to go to 2, 0. And finally, we get kicked out of the loop. The program ends and it says the winner is player X. X, X, X. So Tic Tac Toe. So I went over my code. Your code does not have to be exactly like this, but it should play out similar to the way that I've shown you. Now, I'm not going to show you this because for the sake of time, but in an event of a tie, the board will actually reset and you will be able to keep playing. So compare yours to mine, make your adjustments, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Like, comment, subscribe.